Hello, this is Frederik Steinmetz for cgtestplus.com, and this is the second day of my underwater tutorial, or more precisely my passing through the water surface tutorial. We're going to continue right where we left off with texturing the barnacle particles. Okay, I found a nice picture of a barnacle that we can use, and I did not find anything using the English words, so I recommend you try searching different languages as well. For example, this is the German word for barnacle, Seepocke. So I think this picture will do. I'll call this Seepocke, and let's texture this little guy. I already prepared these views because I really like them. You can switch them by using Control and the arrow keys, and also by using this drop-down menu. You can always add new ones by pressing the plus sign, but I usually take those 6 that are available and modify them to my liking. Over here I'm missing the texture options because this is my UV editing panel. Of course I need the texture options as well. Properties, and material, add new, call this barnacle, and use the texture also barnacle, and use of course an image or movie file. We can already say UV because this is what's it gonna be like. And now I'm over here, and Seepocke is over here. Change this to Seepocke. That was render result. Seepocke as well. And we should have done this before distorting them. Never mind, doesn't matter. U and say project from view, and this is sort of a camera projecting method, but I found that it works fine with other stuff as well. Just try not to get these harsh shadows, because they might really mess up, oops, project from view. They might really mess up your end result. To select everything, and let's just move it in place. We'll use this place, even though it has the harsh shadows. Just we'll keep that in mind for later. And okay, let's just align these. Press L over this, hover over this, and press L in order to move these separately. And let's change into textured view here. Textured. Ah, there we go. Okay, just had to press tab. Okay, now it's a little bit of trial and error. Just try to make this look as nice as possible. Okay, this is the middle ring apparently, and I'll click on this. You can also all click on these, but if you don't have faces highlighted, they won't show up over here. So actually let's hide these for now, so we have a lot clearer understanding what we're doing over here. Should be out a lot. Now again, this of course is a quick and dirty method. This must be inside and outside. This is a very dirty method actually. You might want to find nicer source images and spend a lot more time on unwrapping these. But for the most of it, I think we're getting a decent picture. Now let's show the stretch of these. Yeah, because I think, yeah, I messed up some of the stretch, especially over here. This looks very bad. Face. Ah, there we go, that's the problem. Okay, much better. Just click on these distorted faces and you can change them one at a time. And I'll say this should about do it. Now let's unhide everything and press L and hide these. Uncheck the stretch and let's select everything and scale it up. Since parts of this is hidden under the original barnacle, oops, it doesn't matter how precise this is, just rotate it so that the mouth actually fits this mouth. And that should do. Let's save, go to another view, let's choose one, this one I like, and delete those two, and duplicate this one twice, and do the same thing as before. Press O to get into connected view mode, and stomp them flat, make them flatter, just distort them in any way so they won't look too generic. And let's check if they got messed up real bad. And no, looks alright to me. And since they're still in the same group, let's keep it that way and press Shift 1 to get our entire scene. And select this one and add yet another particle system to it. As you probably know by now, I really like particle systems, barnacles, especially blended particle systems. And this is going to be hair type. I know this sounds like it doesn't make sense, but it will in a second, because we'll change the visualization mode, actually the render mode, to a group. And you guessed right, use the barnacles group. Okay, now let's emit this from local view. Let's change the amount to 100 because everything's starting to be jiggly. And let me delete these. I think they're messing up my normals. Okay, there you go. We don't need them anyways, and they were messing up the normals. Now, there is a very common problem that you get when you are dealing with hair objects. Let's move these over to 2 entirely, and you can see that they should be pointing outwards, but they're not. So if I rotate this, it shouldn't do anything, but it does. So I guess we got an option checked over here. That's nope. Never mind. Okay, very good. Let's just rotate RX 90 minus 90, and same thing here, RX minus 90, and also here RX minus 90. There we go. Now we have barnacles on our pier. Now you can see that here's a little gap between the barnacle and the pole. So the easiest way to fix that, it's also a quick and dirty way, is to get into edit mode. And as you can see, if I move this, I'm also moving the barnacles, because this over here, this little dot, that's the registration point, and if it's too far away from your actual geometry, you'll get gaps. So if I move this back here, you'll see that the barnacles are now fitting nicely on the surface, except for this one. but that doesn't matter. I'll just fix this real quick. Alrighty, looks good. Now, let's leave the group over here. Once an object is an instance of a particle system, it won't get rendered itself. But just to be sure, I'd like to keep the particles on different parts. Great, let's call this barnacles so we can easily identify it. And let's change this to barnacles. There we go. We can choose the amount up to 1000 again. And drag down the size, and especially we need the size random, make this 20%, 0.2. There we go, barnacle covered stems. Okay, now let's do something I love doing, and that is create a map. And creating maps is really helpful, especially if you're compositing later on and you want more control over your render passes. You can create maps. Now, this map that I'm going to be creating is not going to influence any render pass, but it will influence the water that you can see over here. First of all, I need to not render the displacement modifier. Let's render the subdivision. It might make, well, it's not. And check how that turns out. Maybe we need to. Okay, if you uncheck the camera here, it will be still seen in the viewport. Actually, let's take this down a little. We know what we're doing, and with the barnacle system selected, we have, at least I have, a very slow viewport, so we can also turn this one off. Same here. There we go. My viewport is fluent again. Okay, now let's go into top view and change the camera size to 1024 by 1024. And go into top view and press Ctrl-Alt-0. This will align the current camera to the current view. Now you can see here, nope, this is our view, this is the camera. Press G and X until you have the plane filling the viewport, the view in your camera. Scale this down a little bit. Just make sure. It does not need to be perfect. We can always correct that in the UV settings later on. But the important thing is to have only one light in the scene, and that is a sun. Press Shift C and add a sun. And now leave the sun. I mean, it doesn't matter where you place the sun anyway, but it's important which way it's rotated, and leave it shining down, directly down. Now let's go to the world setting. I already have ambient occlusion checked, so you don't need to, if you don't, check it now, and set it to ray trace. And a fall off of 2 should do. So the sun will now cast shadows from directly above, giving us an even ring about around every the two of these cylinders. And let me show you what that means. Make sure to check under layers, check that you want to render out an ambient occlusion pass. That's important. Turn down the anti-aliasing, we don't need it, and if you want to save some render time, turn off shadow, texture, subsurface scattering to color management. We need the ray tracing, obviously, for the ambient occlusion and the shadows. Now let's go into camera view again. Also, it's a good idea to set the camera to orthographic. And you can increase the orthographic scale until your scene fits your view again. Okay. Now let's render this. Yeah, I just realized we don't need to render the barnacles. Even though we turn them off in the viewport, they're still being rendered. So let's turn them off and try this once more. There we go, much better. But also we don't need the planks. Alt H to unhide them, and let's just move them to layer 3. And let's try this again. There we go. 2 solid rings. Well, not solid, but 2 rings exactly where the posts are. And um, if you press 11, you can F11, you can get the last render. And there's a tiny bug right now. If you have the user settings, the user preferences open, it will show them. Doesn't matter. Just close them, and you'll be fine. And let's press F3 and save this image as our um, water displacement, let's call it helper. Okay, water displacement helper, save as, and now we will go to either UV image editor and give this a new texture. It already has a material, so all we need to do is add a texture. And also we don't want this displayed. Let's call it displace helper. And it's again going to be an image, and it's going to be our water displacement helper. Okay, also change this here to water displacement map or helper. And now you can see it's flipped, but it's working. And let's just rotate this, rotate 90 degrees. Nope, 180 degrees. So again, okay, that should do. Where are those posts? And as you can see, it's perfectly aligned around my 2 posts. Now you might ask, why did I do that? And the reason for that is, if you have water and you have an object crossing the surface tension of the water will pull the water up around that object. So let's change into a different view, and in the front view I'll press Ctrl Alt 0 again, and also make my camera 16:9 again, 1080, because I just like the 16:9 format. And let's select the water plane and don't show the displacement, but add another modifier, another displacement modifier. The texture, of course, will be the displacement helper, and the strength should be -0.1 or something. -0.1. Okay, that was too much. The reason why this is going up so much, or in this case down so much, is because white will push it up, and black will push it down. So in order to correct that, we can use the mid-levels, and if you turn off the the subdivision surface, you can see this is working quite nicely, and we can even set down the strength a lot more. Oh, that was the wrong one, sorry. The strength is, usually the strength that is offered is way too big, so I guess this should do. And you can see exactly where the 2 posts are, the water is pointing up. There, if you want this water sharper, you can always go into Photoshop GIMP and play with the curve settings, so this will be a sharper fall-off. But for now, I leave it like this. And let's show the other displacement modifier. I tinkered with the controls. That was not the best idea. Okay, now you can see they're kind of adding up. Wow, 0.05. Ah, there we go. Now they're adding up. If we turn this one off, you see the offset to the top, in the z-axis. And if we turn this one off, we can see that the entire water will move up. Okay, now we got those realistic upwards going water surface tension induced induced rim around the poles here. Okay, let's play with the water settings a bit. And to make water realistic, especially important when you have this low of an angle towards the water surface, are the Fresnel settings. And I can show you what a Fresnel setting does. Here you can see the Fresnel effect at full power. This is a picture of a water surface that is kind of close to the camera, almost parallel to your viewing axis. And you can see right in front here is the water is transparent. You can see the ground. And as we go further away from the camera, you can see that the transparency of the water goes down, and also that the reflection goes up. So as further we are away from the camera, the less transparency we get and the more reflection we get. And this is called the Fresnel effect, and Blender has a very nice way of um, implementing this, or of realizing this. What we need to do is, of course, check the ray transparency. We have water, and water has an IOR of 1.3, but that's usually too much for my taste, so I'll go with 1.2. Let's set the mirror and the reflectivity way up, and I found that it's a good idea to use the same Fresnel values for the water and the river, because the water and the, sorry about that, the transparency and the mirror, because then you'll have the gradient almost approximately the same, because they go hand in hand. So let's set the Fresnel to 3, and we can tinker with a blend. I think it makes the transition between the two more subtle. I'm not sure. Okay, let's set this to Blinn, because Blinn or Phong, that usually gives the most shiny and metal-like looking speculars. Then let's set the hardness way up and the intensity down a little. And the color isn't really purple. Let's do this, and if you want, you can reduce the transparency all the way to 0, but I'll leave like 0.2 left, because then, or maybe even a little more, because then it will tint everything that's underwater. It'll tint it a tiny bit. I'll have to check later on. Let's set this to Oren-Naya, however this guy, those guys are pronounced, because they also give a little bit more metallic looking surface, and you can play around with the roughness.